I know we're just getting started, but I want you to think for a moment and reflect. How would your life be different if you had more options and you made more choices? How would your life be different if you had more options and you made more choices? Welcome, my friend, to another episode from Inside Treasures. My name is Phoebus, and I love to challenge myself and those around me for the purpose of growth. I'm here to help you to heal, to change, and to grow. Today's episode is about choices versus options. What is the difference between having a choice and having an option? What gets in the way? Where do we stop? Where do we suffer? Where do we struggle? Choices versus options. I'm going to start with options. Usually we're in a place that we can see options when we kind of like fall into the victim mode. We're thinking about, I don't know what I should be doing. I don't think there's anything else that I could be doing. I have no choices. I have no options. There's nothing that I can do, nothing within my power in which that I can do for me to change the situation. So there's no door to walk through. There's nothing. It's just like a vast desert. There's nothing for me to do. Sometimes the thing to notice there is the lack of options is a way in which we view the world, is the perspective in which we approach the world and see how there are no options available. There's nothing to do. There's only nothingness. So there's zero resourcefulness into the current state of where we're at in order for us to be able to even see doors. So options are about doors, are about possibilities of things that could happen. Our mind filters a lot of that and makes it unavailable, particularly when we're in fear, victim mode, when we're in that place, or if we're afraid to make choices. That is something to see and understand, because I'm not willing to make this choice, so I'm eliminating the option. And there's this choice available and this option available, and I make it happen. Part of this is like, will I make the right choice? Will I make the right decision? Is this the right path? So in that, there's the lack of trust and the depth of doubt. And in that victim mode, I have nothing to do. I can't do anything. There's a surrender in which we don't have agency. It's not one that creates. There's a surrender towards a choice and an option, which allows us to grow as human beings and to like elevate us. And there's one that really kind of like, it's their conscious way. It's the passive choices versus the active choices. Just know that they're always choices that we're making. Perhaps options that they're available, and through habitual patterns, through being afraid, or whatever it is, like we move through life and make unconscious choices. Just life. Everyone is. Part of mindfulness is learning for ourselves to come into that and to have the ability to be present, even in our unconscious choices. Sometimes it means making different decisions and changing our choices. Sometimes it means just maintaining the course, but I'm present. I'm willing to be present in this. A reminder that I like to call myself to and from is that I always have a choice. It's reminding myself that there's always a choice available. A choice available, an option available, and a choice available. I have an option that I can choose to walk through. And the second part for me is like I have the power to exercise my choice. I'm powerful enough and I have enough agency in order for me to choose something, to choose a path, even though it's hard, because from a place of feeling weak and victim there's no choice, there's no path, there's no option, there's nothing there. But then it's learning to choose a path, learning to walk a path and to have what is required of me to step up and empower myself in order for me to be able to dwell on that journey. What I really want you to take from this is it that there are no options in my life? There are no possibilities in my life in this specific frame for me to do what I need to do? Is it because there's nothing there? It's desolate, it's desert. There are really no doors available, nothing that can be done from you. Is this your problematic area? Or is it the ability to make a choice and to have agency? Because these are distinct. Being able to make a choice is different than having options. One is supposed to require the other one. So for me to make a choice, I need options. But like I said earlier, sometimes we eliminate our options because we're unwilling to choose, because it's a harder path. So learning to figure out, most of the time we're in a specific situation, which one is it? Is it that things come up? Because I've noticed, like, even my internal narrative, sometimes it's like, there's an option, and then just like fear, no choice. It's like, nah, discard that. Not useful, not useful, not useful. And then it's when I end up without choices and options. So the thing to understand is, like, first of all, what is showing up? And then second of all, take ownership. Taking ownership, not in the sense that we have to change it, but take ownership that this has to do with my internal narrative. It can be the external environments, but I have a choice. I have a choice in myself in how I choose to approach this. And that is a choice because we are creating an option and a possibility in this present moment that we're willing to find a way through, even though if we can't see one. So already by doing that, we're creating an option, we're opening a door and we're walking through, and that is a portal in which opens up multiple and infinite possibilities and opportunities for you. So those options are available. And then knowing that you have agency to choose a path, agency to trust in order for you to be able to walk a path towards a specific option. This is like a two-way door. So sometimes we walk in through one direction and we're like, oh, I have no choices. And sometimes other times we walk on the other direction. Whichever way we walk through that two-way door, we have a different perspective and view of the world. So on the first part, we talked about the way that we see the world and being a victim and lack of choices. And the second part is about creating possibility. It's about creating options. You being the door and you being both. And understand that sometimes you might feel like you don't have options, but you always have a choice to create options. This is an empowered state. This is a way of you from shifting from the victim mode through the door and looking at the other side. Looking at the other side, which is the view, is magnificent because it's a reflection of who you are. Infinite possibilities, portals open up in which you can step forward. When you are feeling in that space and place, options begin to appear which weren't before visible because you were looking the other way. So the minute that we look towards the landscape, we can see a lot of possible ways, a lot of opportunities, a lot of options, and a lot of possibilities. So remember of a time in which you felt empowered in yourself and a new opportunity all of a sudden popped up. You saw something that you had never seen before. This is what I love to do with people. Helping them be in a place which they see the world in such a way that they couldn't see before. And because of that, that opens gates, portals, and opportunities for them to walk through in their life day to day. Not once, not a specific scenario. It's a way of walking through life. The way that this works for me is because I feel like I'm an explorer. I find a way through. In my life, I try to find a way through. When I help people, I'm very curious again to help them walk through stuff. It's about finding paths, creating paths, carving paths, creating your own path, and trusting in the process and trusting in yourself. I'm also willing to experience some pain to find my freedom. I'm willing to stick in a place of, although my tendency is to run, I also have this which is like, this is important, I need to deal with this over and over and over again until I choose, until I find my freedom, until I carve my own path into the next level. And when I choose, what I've noticed is that I feel empowered. I feel empowered because it reminds me of who I am, and I feel empowered because there are many options. But it's a choice in which moves me forward. There's a big part of choosing that comes with trust, that comes with surrender, that comes into knowing that when you make the choice, it is the right choice, and it's the choice that you've made. And the only wrong choice, I love that saying, is the one that we never made. And know that there is really no right and wrong, because it just depends on the criteria that you have about a specific thing. It has to do with the parameters that you have in mind. For me, I need ABC, you need DEF. And someone else needs a combination of both. That is the right choice for me. So it's aligning with knowing that this is right for me because this is the choice that I'm making. Again, that's another empowering state of creating yourself and being with that. Knowing that there's a sense of commitment, that when we choose, we commit, we devote ourselves. We devote ourselves into that choice. We create that being the path, even though the myriad paths that cuts through the noise that really hurts us, the noise that creates the doubt, the mistrust in ourselves. And know that this is not forever. Everything ends. Everything has an end. At some point, you will change your mind. At some point, you'll do something different and be free in your ability to do that. Because if you're so fixated and so committed in order to be so stubborn to make that choice, to make it work, and you're missing the mark every single day, you're living against your life, you're living in resistance, you're not in flow. There's spaces for us to grow through resistance, but it's primarily about entering yourself and finding that freedom in which you know that you can change your mind and you know that you're devoted. You're devoted until that ends. And when that end comes, that end comes. But right now, you're devoted to where you're at. You're devoted to who you're being. And you're devoted to your choice. Options is about your ability to see what is there and to create what is there. To create options. Choice, on the other hand, is the exercise of the will to follow through. Follow through towards an option. That's choosing. A doing, a being, and primarily a standing in which you're willing to take. A devotion to something outside of you, in service of you and to you, and perhaps the people around you. When we make a choice, the noise disappears. The noise goes. At times it can come back like a gremlin and attack us to give us doubt towards the choice and the path that we've taken and chosen. Do listen to what's the wisdom behind that, but don't let that stop you and get in the way of where you're heading. If you make choices out of being stubborn and you keep stubbornly exercising those choices, perhaps it's an opportunity for you to awaken and see what's in front of you and change course. Perhaps it's just an invitation to keep going. I want to leave you with some questions. Questions for reflection. Where do you feel in your life that you lack options? Take some time and respond to that question. You can send me an email if you want, at podcast@insidetrousers.com with your answers. Where is it that you put off choosing? Where is it that you put off choosing, making choices? There's probably some area in your life, there's probably something specific in your life right now which you're not choosing, at least consciously. What are your unconscious choices that you could do with changing? You could shift those unconscious choices. What would that be? What is it for you? Individually for you. Know that if you're feeling stuck, there's hope. There is hope. You just need to sit back and get a little bit of perspective. Perspective in which it will enable you to feel more empowered, in which it will enable you to see more options, in which it will enable you to take a path of making choices. Choices towards a specific direction of your life in which it allows you to shift and change your life. Perhaps you're just like some of my clients, which we sit and we actually identify when we're in a room together, a virtual room, we start to talk, and what we tend to see is the availability of options, the obstacles of making choices, the hardness of walking the path. And as we move through that and we see, identify, we speak about and feel and move those kinds of energies through, we tend to see that the person across from me always feels so much more empowered, always more clear, always having a better sense of direction, a clarity in their North Star, and the ability to feel empowered enough for them to take the next steps that will lead them where they want them to be led, where they want the life to be. There's a path from A to B. And they make that happen. I tend to facilitate the process. I tend to hold them in that and to allow them to move through and process through their emotions that they come up, which create resistance, which create the fear, which puts us in lack, which makes us not make choices. So if you're feeling stuck, message me at insidetreasures.com on Instagram. Go to my website, insidetreasures.com. Email me at podcast@insidetreasures.com. You choose, you find your way, find a way to speak to me. Because as my contribution to the world and the people around me, I love being of service and I love being able to assist the people around me. So send me a message. We'll arrange the time, honor that time, honor yourself, and let's get together talking. And I wonder in which ways you're going to move and shift in your life. So you're feeling stuck, this is my invitation to you. If you're feeling you can't choose, this is my invitation to you. If you feel you're out of options, this is my invitation to you. The option is there. The choice is yours to make. If any of this has resonated with you, be sure to pass it on, to share it with other people who perhaps can help with them and their lives and their way of thinking, because in all honesty, you never truly know how that is going to change their life. Thank you for tuning in to another episode from Inside Treasures. My name is Phoebus, and until next time, my friend, let peace guide your life, let love guide your heart, and reason guide your thoughts.